All right, Governor Gretchen Whitmer goes to Washington to talk economics.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These last few days have been really tough for Michigan. 20% of our economy is tied to the auto industry, which depends on a steady flow of goods from our largest and closest trading partners. We're home to the busiest international border crossing in North America. More than 10,000 vehicles carrying parts and materials cross the bridge between Detroit and Windsor every weekday. We're already seeing the impacts of tariffs. So as I've said before, I'm not against tariffs outright, but it is a blunt tool. You can't just pull out the tariff hammer to swing at every problem without a clear, defined end goal. We cannot underestimate or underappreciate the time and capital it's going to take to actually bring jobs and supply chains back home. So there's not a shortcut here. Strategic reindustrialization must be a bipartisan project that spans multiple presidential administrations.
And who's out there giving praise to Gretchen Whitmer? None other than Donald Trump?
Michigan, great state of Michigan. And she's really done an excellent job, and a very good person. And we're working on the Selfridge, as you know, the air base. We're trying to get the air base open, keep it open. I think, Gretchen, if you're there, and Matt Hall, the Speaker of the House of Michigan.
What happened to that woman up north? What happened to the nastiness between Donald Trump and Gretchen Whitmer? What is going on? Does this have anything to do with Gretchen Whitmer wanting to run for president in 2028? And why would Donald Trump be supporting her at this point? It's all very interesting politics. So let's bring in Dave Dulio, director of the Center for Civic Engagement and political science professor at Oakland University. Hey, Dave, how are you? I didn't. I got
David Sowerby.
David Sowerby, how are you?
Who's not the political expert, but I will say kudos to the governor for voicing the merits of free trade and that it benefits Michigan.
It's wild. Laura, are you going to call David Dulio, or are we going to interview David Sowerby? Your choice. Our producer called the wrong number because we have you scheduled at 10:18. But I'll tell you, while we have you here, while we find Dave Dulio, what do you think about that stock market? You told me a couple days ago to get out of the market and put all my money under the mattress. Now what am I going to do?
You know I didn't do that.
You did not do that.
Kevin, this is my 12th bear market. It's not my last. The rules of the road are, number one, avoid the capitulation trade, which is selling on pain. Remain disciplined and get your shopping list ready. So yesterday we saw it was a quick move to the upside. We'll see if it holds. Usually these bear markets, which is effectively what we're in, aren't over and done with in 2 months. They can linger 4 or 5 months. So we haven't put the nail in the coffin on this bear market. Welcome rally yesterday. We need to see more traction take place.
All right, we're going to come back to you at 10:18 and get into it deeper. I appreciate it, David Sowerby, Managing Director, Portfolio Manager at Ancora Bloomfield Hills. Now let's bring in Dave Dulio, Director of the Center for Civic Engagement and Political Science Professor at Oakland University. Dave, it was pretty surprising to see Donald Trump praising Gretchen Whitmer, who he used to call that woman up north.
It sure was, Kevin. Good morning. Thanks for having me. And you pick up on a fact that was so prevalent during the COVID years, the very icy relationship between President Trump and Governor Whitmer. And I wonder if we're beginning to see a bit of a thaw there, or, given some of the blowback that Governor Whitmer has, if we'll see a refreeze here coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, good for Gretchen Whitmer. She's a Democrat. Donald Trump is a Republican. She still should want to do the best she can for all of the people in Michigan. So the best relationship she can have with Donald Trump would only bode well for Michigan while there's a Republican in office. Do you think there's more to it though? Is it helpful for her to be seen moving more to the middle if she wants to run for higher office?
Well, I took the speech yesterday and some of her previous comments and other remarks as absolutely a point toward 2028, right? And it makes a lot of sense to, in a state like Michigan, and frankly, in a country like the United States, where it is so evenly divided between Republicans and Democrats, that having somebody who is trying to find, as she says, common ground, right? And talk about issues where there is agreement. Yesterday in that Oval Office meeting, alongside of Speaker of the State House, Matt Hall, right? They talked about issues that aren't partisan, that aren't divisive. They talked about fighting Asian carp. They talked about Selfridge Air National Guard Base, right? Those are things that everybody does want to see movement on here in Michigan, and it really demonstrates a willingness to find that common ground, work together, solve problems. But at the same time, she's going to have to if she runs, she's going to have to get through that Democratic primary, and you start to see the knives come out in the wake of that, where other Democrats can't believe that she would be in the same room with Donald Trump.
What is your take on Donald Trump? I feel like it should be national news, Donald Trump saying something nice about Gretchen Whitmer. I don't think it'll get any play beyond here, really. But, we think about all the news stories about every time Donald Trump says something nasty about somebody and how many headlines there are. Here he is saying something nice about a Democratic governor that he had kind of fought a little bit with in the past.
Oh, he more than fought with her. Absolutely, right? I mean, the barbs were pretty sharp. Several years ago. But I think that both Trump and Whitmer can benefit from a better relationship, and maybe not Trump in his personal political trajectory, although it can, I think trying to find common ground and, again, solve problems that are important across the board in a state like Michigan is beneficial. But we're going to have a competitive Senate race, a competitive gubernatorial race. We're going to have a couple competitive U.S. House seats. And I think for Trump to soften the relationship, not just with Whitmer, but to maybe be able to bring in and have a few more people take a look at Republican candidates, that's a positive moving forward.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the auto industry is so important to everybody that Donald Trump probably looks good trying to work with the governor who is in the Motor City and vice versa. The governor of the Motor City working with the president makes sense in a time where there's so much uncertainty.
No doubt, and I think that for all of the goodwill and good work that can be done on issues like Asian carp and Selfridge, right? The issue that it's all going to come back to. I think our tariffs on cars and other elements of the auto industry, that is where the rubber meets the road here in Michigan, as you know, and that's probably going to, trump everything.
Exactly. All right. David Dulio, Director of the Center for Civic Engagement, Political Science Professor at Oakland University. Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're listening to All Talk on WJR.